A man I know walked into a first date last year with no plan, no rehearsed lines, no strategy. He just asked three questions. Not the questions you are probably thinking. Not what do you do, not where did you grow up, not the safe, predictable conversation filler that makes both people feel like they are filling out a form instead of actually meeting each other. Three different questions, specific questions. And by the end of that evening, the woman across from him had told him things she said she had never told anyone on a first date. She leaned in. She laughed in the way people only laugh when they feel completely safe. And at the end of the night, she told him she had not felt this known by someone in a very long time. That man is now married to her, and he gives full credit to those three questions. I am going to give you all three today. But more importantly, I'm going to show you exactly why they work, what they do inside a woman's mind and nervous system when they land correctly, and how to deliver them in a way that feels completely natural rather than rehearsed. Because the questions alone are not the point. The understanding behind them is, here is what most men get wrong about conversation with women. They treat it like an interview. They ask questions to gather information. They listen not to understand, but to respond. And the woman sitting across from them feels it. She feels the transaction of it. She gives answers and receives questions back, and the whole thing feels like a tennis match where the ball keeps coming back over the net, but nothing actually connects. And she leaves that interaction thinking, nice enough, but I did not really feel anything. And that feeling, or more accurately, that absence of feeling, is what ends most potential connections before they ever truly begin. The research on this is clear, and it is fascinating. A landmark study from the State University of New York at Stony Brook, conducted by psychologist Arthur Aron, found that sustained mutual vulnerability between two people could produce feelings of closeness that would normally take months or years to develop through conventional interaction. The study used a specific set of escalating personal questions to create this effect and found that two strangers who went through the process together reported significantly higher feelings of connection and closeness than those who had conventional conversations. What Aaron discovered was not a trick. It was a mechanism. Human beings are wired for depth. We are wired to feel known and to know others. And when a conversation activates that wiring, something happens that no amount of charm or wit or physical attractiveness can manufacture on its own. The three questions I am about to share with you are built on this exact mechanism. They are not manipulation. They are not techniques designed to extract something from a woman. They are invitations. Invitations into a depth of conversation that most people never experience because most people are too afraid to go there or simply do not know how. And here is the thing I need you to understand before I give them to you. These questions only work if you are genuinely curious about the answer. If you ask them as a strategy, as a move, as a way to get somewhere, she will sense the agenda underneath the words and the whole thing collapses. But if you ask them because you actually want to know, because you are genuinely interested in the interior life of the person sitting across from you, they open something real. And what opens is not just her. It is the conversation itself. It expands into a space that neither of you expected, and both of you will remember. The first question is this: what is something you have changed your mind about as you have gotten older? Take a moment with that, because on the surface it sounds simple, but look at what it actually does. It invites her to reflect on her own growth. It signals that you are interested in her mind, not just her biography. It implies that you see her as someone who evolves, who reconsiders, who is not static. And it creates an immediate point of genuine intellectual and emotional engagement that most first conversations never reach. Most conversations ask about the present or the past as fixed facts. Where are you from? What do you do? Have you been here before? These questions treat a person like a collection of data points. But asking what someone has changed their mind about treats them like a living, growing, thinking human being who has been shaped by experience and is still being shaped. That is a fundamentally different thing to communicate. And she feels that difference immediately. Here's what happens when you ask this question correctly. She pauses. Not an uncomfortable pause, but a real one. The kind where you can almost watch her actually thinking rather than retrieving a preloaded answer. And what she retrieves when she does answer is something personal, something that required her to look at herself honestly. Maybe she says she used to think she needed to have everything figured out by 30, and now she finds that uncertainty is where the most interesting things happen. Maybe she says she used to think strength meant never needing anyone, and now she thinks the bravest thing a person can do is ask for help. Whatever she says, she has just shown you something real. something she had to actually think about to access. And now here is your role in that moment. You do not immediately pivot to your own answer. You do not jump in with agreement or a follow-up opinion. You let her answer land. You sit with it for a beat. And then you say something that shows you actually heard what she said. Not a compliment, not a validation, just a genuine reflection of what you received. You might say, "That is interesting. What was the moment you started to shift on that?" Or simply, "What do you think changed that for you?" You go one layer deeper into what she just shared. And that one additional layer is where the connection actually happens. Because here is what most men never understand about emotional opening. It does not happen in the question. It happens in what you do with the answer. A woman does not open up because someone asked the right thing. She opens up because someone received what she said in a way that made her feel safe to say more. Your question creates the door. Your listening is what makes her walk through it. The second question is this: what is something you are really proud of that most people in your life do not fully know about? This one is more intimate than the first. It asks her to name something she values about herself that she has not widely shared. And that act, the act of naming private pride to someone new, is one of the most connecting things a human being can do in conversation. Because private pride is not the same as public achievement. Public achievement is what people post, what they mention casually, what they bring up when they want to establish credibility. Private pride is different. It is the thing she worked hard for that no one saw, the way she handled something difficult, the version of herself she became through something that broke her and then rebuilt her. The things she knows about herself that the world has not recognized yet. When you ask this question, you are telling her something without saying it directly. You are telling her that you are interested in the part of her that most people miss, that you are not satisfied with the surface version she shows the world, that you want to know what she knows about herself that has not been seen yet. And for most women, that is an extraordinarily rare thing to be asked, because most conversations, even intimate ones, stay on the visible surface. They deal in accomplishments, opinions, preferences. Very few conversations go to the place of private internal knowledge. When she answers this question, and she will answer it even if she takes a moment to trust the space enough to do so, what you will hear is not information. What you will hear is her, the real her, the her that exists beneath the performance of daily life. And if you receive that with the same quality of attention I described with the first question, something shifts. The air between you changes. The conversation is no longer two people exchanging facts about themselves. It is two people actually meeting. There is a third question, and it is the most powerful of all three. But before I give it to you, I need to tell you something about timing, because the third question does not work at the beginning of a conversation. It works after the first two have created a foundation, after she has already shown you something real twice, after the space between you has already shifted into something more honest than ordinary conversation. Only then does the third question land the way it is supposed to. The third question is this: what does your life look like when it feels most like yours? Read that again slowly. What does your life look like when it feels most like yours? Not what are your goals? Not where do you see yourself in 5 years? Not what makes you happy, which is a question so broad it almost always produces a generic answer. But when does your life feel most like yours? When does it feel like it belongs to you rather than to obligation, expectation, performance, or survival? This question reaches somewhere that almost no conversation ever goes. It asks her to describe the version of her existence where she feels most herself. And for most people, that is a question they have never been asked out loud. They have thought about it privately. They have felt it in moments without having language for it. But no one has ever sat across from them and asked them to describe it. And when someone does, when you do, the effect is profound. She will tell you about a morning she had once where everything felt quiet and right. She will tell you about a creative project that consumed her in the best possible way. She will tell you about a conversation she had with someone who understood her completely and how rare that felt. She will tell you about a place she went where she finally exhaled after months of holding her breath. Whatever she tells you, it will be true. Deeply, privately true. And she will feel, perhaps for the first time in a very long time, that she is in a conversation worth having. And here is what you do with that answer. You do not analyze it. You do not offer advice about how she could have more of that feeling. You do not pivot immediately to your own version of the same answer. You simply stay in it with her for a moment. You might say, "That sounds like exactly where you belong," or I can hear how much that matters to you just from the way you described it. Something small, something that tells her you were not just waiting for your turn to speak. You were actually there, actually listening, actually moved by what she shared. Because that is the thing about these three questions that no list of conversation tips will ever tell you. The questions are not the point. You are the point. The quality of your presence, your genuine curiosity, your willingness to sit in a moment of real human depth without rushing past it, that is what creates the connection. The questions simply give that presence somewhere to go. Women do not remember the men who said the most impressive things. They remember the men who made them feel the most seen. And these three questions, delivered with genuine curiosity and received with genuine attention, create exactly that. Not a performance of connection, the real thing. The kind that stays with her long after the conversation ends. The kind that makes her want to continue it. You are not the man who fills a conversation with noise. You are not the man who asks questions to impress. You are the man who is genuinely interested in the interior life of the person across from him, who creates space for real answers, who receives what he is given with care. That man is rare, and she will know it the moment she meets him.